Okay, we'll go ahead and call us to order. First item, recognition of guests. Ann Campars, thank you for joining us today. Roll call, all the board members are here. Under item 2, discussion and action items. Item A, operations. Number 1 would be approve the revised BG1 for the Guaranteed Energy Savings Project.
Michael?
Okay, well, this is part of the changes that we're trying to do for air purification, and we're actually gonna run this through our Guaranteed Energy Savings Project. So part of what we have to do with this change order that follows this is do a revised BG1 so we can show those costs. We show it under the contingency item, if you look at the funding section in the BG1, and basically that's just because facilities doesn't recognize the contingency in an energy savings because the savings pays for the project, so that's why we had to list it that way. And then obviously the funding's coming from cash. So I recommend approval, and Andrew I think is on the line. I mean, he's going to talk about the change order I think, but did you have anything you want to say, Andrew?
No, I think you covered it very well, Michael.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Joy makes a motion. Vanessa seconds. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor? And item 2 would be to approve the change order for the Guaranteed Energy Savings Project on that same line.
Okay. Well, you just heard Andrew, so he's here to field any questions, but I don't know if you guys paid much attention to the amount, which I know you did.
A little bit.
Just a little stab there, but you know, we were estimating anywhere from $250,000 to $280,000, and Andrew was able to get that project cost down to $170,000.
Love
so
you, Andrew. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Huge bonus.
I am pleased.
Right. Well, given what's on the rest of the agenda, I like to save you a little money before I hit you with the next part of this board agenda. But yeah, we were really happy with the project costs, and we can get everything done that we spoken about in a previous meeting. So if you have any questions, certainly Andrew, happy to answer whatever you need.
Mark makes the motion.
Second.
Rick seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor? We'll carry that one on. Thank you, Andrew. And
Thank
item
you.
3 would be approve the change orders for the high school renovation project.
Here we go.
Thank you for that lead in, Vanessa. It always makes me feel much better. John Hagan's actually on the line. I wasn't going to do this by myself because it's not any fun.
Honest.
Right. So John Hagan, I'll give you the change order. We'll just kind of walk through them, and certainly if you have any questions or concerns, we can touch on them. So.
Okay.
John, do you want to start with? We'll just lead off with the big one. Change order 13-3, the storm drain.
Okay. First off, I apologize for not being there. I'm on the road tonight. I typically like to be there in person whenever we're talking change orders, but yeah, let's start with the big one. 13-3. This is the proposed new storm drainage and storm structures back on the rear of the site, back beyond the softball field, wrapping around the new hitting facility. That area back there, I guess, has been a continuous issue with water runoff eroding down towards what's your existing football stadium back there. So this would alleviate those problems. It is a big ticket item. Obviously, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of material, which is the biggest, big chunk of the cost. But I think this is a permanent fix to a problem that you guys have been battling for years. So this is one we've been kicking around for several months now, but we feel like would be a benefit to the district, not necessarily for this project in particular, but to solve some of your major problems out there.
Let me add that the financial concerns very similar to the last project we did at the ATC, where we addressed the pump station issue out by the track, and we were able to replace that out through that project that provides a significant long-term benefit to the district. Same thing here. We're going to have to address some drainage issues on the backside of the tennis court anyway with this project. So then we decided, hey, let's go ahead and address the drainage issue on the entire campus, because that's been an issue for years where water runs out onto the parking lot. So this is one of those where I understand it's a significant amount of money, but the value that it adds long-term to the campus is significant. And that's why we really wanted to take this on in the project.
Yeah, it's not going to get any less inexpensive to do it 5 years.
That's correct. We have the crew out there. The crew we have is very good, and that's why I wanted to take advantage of that. So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I can assure you, I've walked out in the back of that parking lot on many, many occasions, and there are times when it's ankle or better deep, so this
We've had a
hopefully
graduation where you couldn't.
will take care of that.
I would agree with that.
And doing it now while you've got the crew on the ground is the way to do it. And also, you know, we're not doing it the way the state would do it. We're not gonna go through, make everything pretty, and then 3 months later rip it back up again.
Right. We certainly want to make it a quality situation out there for that, because that facility is going to be so nice.
Right.
You know, so, all right, so I'm gonna continue on, John, with, change order 13.5. That's the scoreboards, the 65,826. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yes, sir. So this would be for drilling caissons, which are concrete columns, basically, in the ground. The structural steel columns that would support the scoreboards, and for the installation, for the hanging of those scoreboards at both fields. Making the electrical connections will be coming down the road. We're getting pricing from the electrical contractor, but this is for all the heavy work here, for putting in the foundations, the structural steel supports, and installing the boards themselves.
So, we made a significant upgrade in our scoreboards for both fields. And so, they're a pretty good size, let's just say that. We should be able to see them from space. I don't think they're that big, but.
Or even us old people that can't see very far.
Right. But this was important to me, that we're gonna build and invest in these fields, that we want something that's really great and wonderful on the scoreboard side. If you've been to our current field, I mean, those scoreboards work and they're just fine, but certainly they're aged a little bit, and I really wanted to provide something for that field that really stood out, and that's why we did this, and certainly we've asked the contractors while they're on site to go ahead and install it for us. So that's the reason for that. Any questions on?
So is there a fan cam?
There's all kinds of cameras out there. We'll work on the fan cam later, you know.
Wouldn't it be nice to have movie night out there sometime?
Right, maybe it's not that big, okay? It's not driving quality screen, but it's a
Instant
decent
replay.
size.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
All right, John, I'm gonna give you a couple easy ones now. Change order 13.4 is for 3,500. It's for a window in the concession area. And John, you have any comment on that?
I don't. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's a aluminum frame window that'll match what's going in, what you got at the high school. Pretty self-explanatory. Going in that softball concessions building.
We just thought, based on the design, it could add another window to the concession. That's pretty much it. It does provide a little bit additional visibility to the softball field, but I think the biggest impact will just be, it'll be letting in more light, window in the concession area.
Parents be able to watch.
All right, so the next one, John, is 9-1. It's for the 4,687.10, and that one is that's for the relocation of the exhaust duct. So you wanna speak about that one?
This one, Lusk Mechanical. This is one of those situations where you get into a renovation, you really don't know exactly what you're dealing with until you start tearing into the place. So once we got into these restrooms, there was some existing duct work that's now having to be relocated, be removed, rerouted up through the second floor. So this involves new duct work, also some steel angle where we're penetrating through the floor to make those penetrations support the concrete. But it has to be done. You got to reroute that duct work and get it out of the way of the entrance to that restroom. 2 restrooms.
So if you see Mr. LaGrange or Miss Lopez at the high school, tell them thank you very much, because they were great sports, because we had to relocate that duct into their classrooms, and it went straight up through their classroom. Not too bad, it just sticks out a couple feet maybe at the most, but Miss Lopez had to move her desk, and she was more than accommodating, so you might want to give her a tip of the hat there for that. I appreciate that.
I like it.
Well, it could have been worse. It could have been exhausted into her classroom.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how I presented it to her, but good point. All right, so the last one that we have for tonight is change order 10-1. It's for $33,026.28, and that is for some electrical upgrades. And John, you want to comment on that one?
So this would be extending your electrical abilities for future use out at the tennis courts and also out that practice football field, which is back behind the baseball field, for future lighting, for anything, but primarily lighting. So it's putting some additional conduit, larger conduit, additional conduits in the ground, all the way back to those areas. So then in the event down the road you decide to put up lights and whatnot, you'll have that ability now and not have to, like Michael was saying, get in there digging up what you've just completed. So it'll be there for future use whenever you want it.
This is along the same lines of storm system. Think about how much concrete that we'd have to pull up should we decide to put lights out in the future, and I think this just sets us up. We got the crew out there, they're very good. Again, trying to add some long-term value to this project. I think that's all the change orders that we talked about. A couple of comments, if you don't mind. One of the things I get asked this every day by my boss is, can we afford this? And certainly, I put enough change orders in front of you tonight to make you sweat a little bit. The financial aspect of this project, I do joke around quite a bit, as you have paid attention to, but I do take it very seriously, and it is something that we look at on a monthly basis. We reconcile payments, we look at what the contract prices are, etc. But I also try to project out a project, to see kind of where we're going to end at, and that's kind of what I do. And I add these change orders. John and I actually have a proposal log that he and I, he actually maintains it, and he will provide it to me periodically to look at. And what it does, it looks at change orders or changes potentially coming down. So things that I maybe want them to look at to price, he'll put that in the log, so then I can then project out financially, can we afford it? And certainly this hits our contingency, no question. And we're also looking at a media center renovation that's going to be a sizable change order in May. So just going to prepare you for that coming in. But again, the value that this thing adds, these changes add to the campus, to the school, I think is enormous, and we have an opportunity to really make this campus and that school pop. And so, yes, we can afford it, that's the long answer, but we can afford it. Right now, projection-wise, if I'm looking at the claims that we're evaluating currently with the media center and then some other things with the concrete installation at the tennis courts and some of those things, we're looking at about $20,000, $15,000 to $20,000 in surplus. Now that's not a lot when you're talking about almost $12 million project. But what I want to emphasize is there's currently projected a surplus, and that's where we want to stay. Now eventually there'll be credits that we'll get off these contracts that when John and I sit down, we reconcile what the purchase orders and those kinds of things. So that number should grow. Keep in mind we earn interest on these funds, and this is just interest year to date right now. So we're going to see some growth there. But again, we're not going to have a significant carryover in this project, so I'll prepare you for that now. There won't be any kind of major funds going to another project. But think of the value that we're adding, what that campus is going to look like when we're finished with a grand stairway, media center renovation, new roof. That won't be green. And we're going to have maybe the best softball and baseball field complex in the region when we're finished. So I just want you to know it is something we watch, and we watch very, very closely. And that's part of what we pay John and Codell Construction. We pay their fee. That's part of what they help with as well. So I try to put you somewhat at ease, given that you're approving $200,000+ in change orders tonight.
Michael, what is the total on the change orders?
200 plus something.
285,000, 285, 935, 56.
It sounded better to say 200 plus rather than close to 300.
And some,
I like
they
the way you
change.
think though, Michael.
Well,
But 170 is their
it was
justification.
right. I was trying, but
Hey, I do the same thing when I
Guaranteed
make
but
purchases.
yes, and that
The drainage ditches.
Now I will say this: keep in mind, all of these change orders are all pending KDE approval. Just like any change order we do, we have to send it up to facilities, and they have to ultimately approve it. So you would be approving pending KDE approval. I always have to point that out.
I think the motion be approved.
Mark makes the motion,
Second.
Rick seconds. Any other discussion there? All those in favor? We'll carry that one on. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Item 4 is approve the application for waiver of Kentucky Administrative Regulation, Kentucky Board of Education.
Okay, so what this is, we are developing this brand new virtual academy for next year for students who wish to participate in that in grades K through 12. We're calling that the Brave Academy. Ashley Norwood is heading up that work, and she's doing a really nice job with that. Dale Butler's involved, Kathy Gedling, myself, Jamie Knuckle, and but one thing that we have to do is there's a piece with the attendance and the funding that we receive for students who are in the virtual academy. And so in order for us to receive the state funding on those students, we have to apply for a waiver, because traditionally students are required to be in a physical classroom for in-person learning in grades K through 12. And so what this would do is it requires board approval first, and then tomorrow Dale and I will submit it to the Kentucky Board of Education for approval from them. So, and right now the state we're not going to be required to offer a virtual learning academy next year. We've made the choice ourselves to provide that next year. And then the state has also told us that in grades, I think K through 3, that they're going to allow it next year, but there's no guarantee that the state will allow K through 3 in future years. But for next year, they are going to allow K through 12, and so we'll just kind of have to see where the state goes with that in the future. But I recommend approval so that we
Why the
can,
difference in K through 3?
the younger learners.
Yeah, you just
There's
want them in person.
yes.
Historically have wanted them in person.
Research-based shows, and I agree 100% that in-person learning, nothing replaces in-person
Exactly.
learning. However, I do know that we do have some families that are still gonna be very nervous about the pandemic next school year, and are going to wish to have that option at least for another year. And so I would like for us to be able to accommodate. In the grades 6 through 12, we've been seeing for many years that more students wishing to do something different, some type of alternative type schooling. And so I feel like that even if the younger age children, if that ages out over time, I think that there will be great need in grades 6 through 12 for a different setting.
Go for it. Vanessa makes a motion.
Second.
Joy seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Carry that one on. Item 5 is approve a leave of absence for the 21-22 school year for Kim DeLasso.
I recommend approval.
Joy makes a motion, Vanessa seconds. Any other discussion there? All those in favor? Gladly approve that. Item 6 is approve the second reading of the revised district issuance of checks policy.
First reading was approved at our last meeting, and Michael, do you have anything you want to speak to?
Now, this just shores up that policy change.
Motion.
Second.
Mark makes a motion, Rick seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Get that one done. Item 7 is approve an out-of-area attendance request.
You have the information in your packets. I recommend approval.
Vanessa makes a motion,
Second.
Rick seconds, sorry. Any other discussion? All those in favor? And carry that one too. Motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Rick makes a motion, Mark seconds. We're all in favor.
And we're out.
All right.
Okay, Tom, tell us about your tree.
Can I ask you